Welcome to Bear Swarm. My name is Rob!
Oh, I thought we were going to do NPR voices, and I was really excited. I'm Mike.
I
I'm not going to
was
scream like you did.
I was doing Austin Powers. Remember that movie?
I Yep,
When he's having
I
trouble
was alive when I was alive and old enough to watch that movie when it came out.
he's having trouble controlling the volume of his voice, remember? It was so funny.
He was also very hairy and took very long peas.
I forgot about that. I remember the penis pump,
Which part?
the long peas.
Okay.
He's hairy in all the movies, but
Yes.
the long pea joke was only in the first one, I think.
Well, yeah, it's because he woke up from cryogenic stasis.
I'll be honest, I haven't seen like the third or fourth or fifth one, so I don't know. Maybe he goes back in. At some point, he has to go to space, right? All movie franchises go to space.
I don't. He probably goes. I'm sure he goes to space. Like, given the subject material and that it's a James Bond parody, he's got to have gone to space. I don't think I've seen any since the second one,
I like how
which was Heather Graham, I think.
maybe. I like how for a second there you weren't sure. You're like, I don't. Well, no, I'm gonna like.
I mean, he probably went to space.
I liked watching you talk yourself into it. I mean, the Leprechaun went to space, man.
Yeah,
I guess
so
that's the
Jason.
thing. Horror movie franchises always go to space.
That's true.
I don't think they've done Halloween in space though. Man, I got an idea, Hollywood.
You don't. I don't think anyone. No, someone will watch that movie.
Listen,
In fact, there's someone that's super hyped about that movie.
this guy.
Well, yeah, because you came up with it. Of course you are. I'm saying like someone else. There is a person out there, probably a lot of them, who have equally bad taste.
I guarantee that if I went to Facebook and I was like, movie idea, Halloween in space. I
Are you
know.
specifying in this post that it's like Michael Myers Halloween and not like just like trick or treating in space? Because both of those would get greenlit.
Yeah. I actually, now that we're talking about it, I think the second one is like a holiday movie. You release it around Christmas too. You do one of those weird things where you don't actually release it around the holiday. It's like the Lego movie, but instead of Legos, it's the holiday of Halloween, but in space.
Okay.
And some. You remember that episode of Battlestar Galactica where like communication goes down and they're like sending people to the ships to check on things?
Yes.
It's that, but there's trick or treaters.
I'm out. I was in until you described it, and now, nope. Because I want to be like, how the fuck does that work? But before you explain to me how the fuck that works, let me stop you. I don't care. I'm not actually interested in any way in how it works. I'm out.
You're missing out on $1 billion franchise, Mike.
I think you're wrong.
So we need a clever title though, like Halloween in space movie.
There you go. That's the title
It's
right there.
it's right up there with the Emoji movie and the Lego movie and
Battleship the movie.
I forgot about that.
That was a movie. And contrary to what you think, it wasn't just a war movie about like
Yeah,
two navies.
weren't there aliens or something?
It was about aliens.
Did you see it?
Because if you're going to make a battleship movie, no, I haven't seen it. But if you're going to make a battleship movie, I mean, you can't just make like a war drama, right? It's got to be fucking aliens.
Have you seen trailers for Midway?
No, but I've seen the trailers like advertised.
Gotcha.
So like when I'm looking through, it's like you should go watch the Midway trailer. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, there's a trailer for it before Terminator Dark Fate. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but something about it made me like vaguely uncomfortable. Like
I'm assuming it's a World War II movie.
yeah, it's about the U.S. retaliation for Pearl Harbor.
Yep.
Um, Nikki said something that I thought might be partially what kind of bothers me, and it's that the entire movie is white people fighting Japanese people. Like, there's, it feels very racist.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, just a lot of old white dudes murdering young Japanese men. Like,
And the historical accuracy of that does not uh, factor into that for you, because like in a war of America versus Japan, probably that's how it's going to be.
yeah, but I don't necessarily want to see that glorified in 4DX.
Okay.
Like, I don't think we should, as a nation, be proud of systematically murdering people and destroying another country.
Would it bother you to see the reverse? A Japanese movie that glorifies the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Probably, yeah. I feel like war movies, like, don't necessarily celebrate what I think is the best of humanity.
Yeah.
Like, I think setting a story during a war can, but this just feels like a glorification of when we kick the shit out of some people who didn't look like us.
I mean, that's probably what it's about.
It makes me vaguely uncomfortable. Like, imagine if Germany's like next summer's big blockbuster, fuck Poland.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, that's, maybe you shouldn't be super happy about that.
There's not much of a racial component there, though.
True.
I bring it up only because you like your initial thing was like a bunch of white people kicking the crap out of a bunch of Asian people, and that was kind of what you
Yeah.
thought might not sit well with you.
I mean, I definitely think that doesn't sit well with me, but I think maybe you're right. Maybe the heart of it is the, like, glorifying something that I don't think we should be necessarily like.
You don't like movies that glorify war,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Okay,
makes me uncomfortable.
that's they're not judging you. That's fine. You're entitled to be made uncomfortable by an atrocity or two.
I need a safe space,
Speaking of
Mike.
war as a total being an atrocity,
Yeah,
generalized atrocity.
yeah. I mean,
That's
I
the name of my death metal band, by the way.
generalized
Generalized
atrocity.
atrocity. Yeah.
It's a good death metal band name. I'm having a hard time with words tonight, so this is going to be a fun
You're
episode.
really struggling.
All right, let's move on to our topic for tonight.
Oh, if you can call it that.
I have a list in front of me of.
Oh, wait. There was something that, in regards to what you were saying, that had jogged my memory of something,
Oh,
but I didn't. We didn't quite get there. So I watched a video today. It was about cultural appropriation. Specifically, it was about a cultural kind of a cultural phenomenon in Japan called Bee Life, which is short for Black Lifestyle. So it's like a Japanese urban fashion that mimics uh, African American culture. So like lots of like bling, lots of hip hop style, like the puff jackets, big baggy t-shirts, uh, like a lot of baggy clothes and stuff like that, like tight braids and dreads. And I thought it was very interesting because it was being kind of reported on as if it was like a cultural appropriation thing. But of course, only American white people saw it that way. Uh, because even like American black people were like, "Nah, that's fine." And when they went to ask Japanese people if they thought it was cultural appropriation, obviously, like the people that were participating are like, "No, like we just like the style. It's a cool style." But the guy that was doing the interview was like, "Do you think it would be okay if I wore a kimono?" And the woman was like, "Yeah, that's fine. Like, sure."
I
It's
mean,
something that I think is really interesting about Japanese culture because to them, cultural appropriation like doesn't exist.
so
Like they think that it's super cool if anyone like wears a kimono or uses chopsticks or or like uses Japanese phrases. Like they in and I'm of course generalizing here, but as a culture, like they generally don't have that same reaction to like cultural appropriation that I think is really just common in America, but um it's really interesting to me when Americans get offended on behalf of other cultures that don't have a problem with it.
yeah.
Like that's really weird to me. Um, and I think it's funny that like when he's like, "So it would be okay with me to wear a kimono," and woman's like, "Yeah, why? It's just clothes. Why would that be a problem?" But it has cultural significance to you. So it's just clothes.
Yeah, I read an article about from like a I don't remember like what's the is Native Americans still correct?
Yes,
Indigenous Americans?
also correct.
But like so the idea of like wearing Native American clothing for like Halloween or whatever. Um, and the this lady put it in a really like kind of smart way. She's like, if you're doing it like once a year to be like not serious, not respectful, to be a joke, that's offensive. But if you just like what we wore, if you made that part of your daily wardrobe, that's not offensive.
I think
Uh,
there's also a big component of what's your intent,
yeah,
right?
and
Like,
there's also there's certain things that are inappropriate to wear in any occasion unless you are part of that thing. Um, I really enjoy I'm fascinated by like Haitian voodoo, but there's a lot of this ceremony and attire that wouldn't be appropriate for me to just wear around because it has deep religious spiritual meaning to a group of people that I'm not part of. I think at the end of the day, it's up to the culture that's being appropriated to say whether or not that is appropriate. But I think just because it's of a different culture doesn't mean it's automatically offensive.
yeah. So, a while back, when pretty shortly after Black Panther first came out, I was considering putting together a Killmonger cosplay, specifically like his battle gear, which is like the kind of like the blue vest, with like the military cargo pants, and that look when he robs the museum.
Yeah.
And so like I was legitimately like wondering, are there is it racist? Setting aside, like, obviously, I'm not going to wear blackface, right? Like, I'm just going to dress in a costume that is like his.
Yeah.
Very similar to my Halloween costume this year. I dressed up as Miles Morales Spider-Man, but I didn't like have face paint on or anything like that. I just
Yeah.
wore the outfit. So I was curious about like whether or not that would be perceived as racist, or if there was any aspects of the outfit that I shouldn't wear. And uh, someone I know said that they're like, it was like, don't do the ritual scarification. I was like, I wasn't planning on it. And he
Also,
was like,
that's really
B,
hard to
like,
pull off for Halloween.
yeah, but like, I'm not. Anyway, like that wasn't even on the table for me. Like I was just looking for like things he wore.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna put my hair in his like braid dread things that he's got going on. I wasn't gonna do any of that. I was just gonna wear like the outfit. And the other thing that he said was like, you might want to stay away from the mask because the mask has cultural significance. Now, if I'm dressing up as a character that explicitly doesn't give a shit about that cultural significance, much like Killmonger does, because he explicitly takes the mask And when someone's like, "Oh, is it important to you?" He's like, "Nah, I just thought it looked cool." And later he like throws it on the ground and doesn't care about it, right? If I'm dressing up as that character, is that still inappropriate if the character that I'm dressing up as also doesn't give a shit?
I
Is there a transference?
I think the character's feeling about it is kind of irrelevant. I think the fact that it was like $1 billion movie, it's a cultural icon, it's part of pop culture. Like the look of Killmonger in that scene no longer belongs to any certain group or tribe or whatever. It's a character from a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a movie about cultural like significant, like it's not a movie about like a tribe in
Wakanda doesn't
Africa.
exist.
Yeah. I think though, if I had an African friend who's like, I wouldn't do that, I'd be like, you got it, buddy. Like, I'm a respect whatever somebody of that culture is going to tell me
Right.
above whatever my own personal feelings are.
To be clear, the guy that responded was not of any sort of African descent.
Yeah.
He was just chiming in as a very woke individual.
Yeah. Well, it's at a certain point, it's like, shut the fuck up, white guy. Let somebody who's of that culture speak to the significance of it.
Sure.
Unless the white guy's like, hey, here's this article about somebody from that culture speaking of the significance of
Right.
it. Like, I don't really care what another, like, I'm a white guy. I know white guy opinions. What I don't know is non-white guy opinions, and those are what I'm interested in for this topic in particular.
Right. Well, yeah. And when you're asking about whether or not something is culturally appropriate, I don't need someone to chime in that has the same cultural perspective as me.
Exactly.
Like I know it's not culturally offensive for me. I don't need you, Rob Justice, to tell me, yeah, like that's fine, because obviously, like,
Yeah. Or you don't need me to be like, no, dude, that's horrible. You shouldn't do that. Like, everybody would be
right,
offended. Because what do I know?
right,
I mean, if I was South African, maybe I'd merit more listening to.
sure.
But I'm not. I'm Minnesotan.
So, do you think that the fact that the costume is not does not have the religious, like, I'm not dressing up as someone who, if you were dressing up as a character who wore something from Haitian voodoo but wasn't a Haitian voodoo priest, do you think that that makes a difference?
I do. I really like. I think so. With the Killmonger mask in particular, I don't think you could wear a costume of just the mask.
Right.
I think if it's
put on a t-shirt and a jeans and then just slap that thing on my face.
yeah, I really like the Killmonger mask. So
Right.
no, but like if you put the effort into to mimic that character, I think that's a different interpretation than like if I dressed up like the villain from Princess and the Frog, which is like a Baron Samedi looking guy, like
Mm-hmm.
that to me no long like as long as it's clear that I'm doing this Disney villain, I don't think that's culturally insensitive. But I'll tell you what, like the first thing I do if I'm thinking about going this route is I get a hold of anybody that I know in the voodoo community, anybody I know that is Haitian, and I be like, hey, thoughts?
Yeah.
Because whatever you say is what I'm going to listen to because my personal feeling on it is irrelevant in light of
Right.
the actual person being affected by my actions.
Yeah. And of that costume, like the only part of it that I was unsure about was his mask. Specifically because I don't know if you know this, but his actual, like the rest of his battle gear was inspired by Dragon Ball Z. So
Yeah.
like Michael B. Jordan is a huge anime fan, so he specifically asked like, "Hey, can you make it like Vegeta's armor from Dragon Ball Z with like the color palette and kind of the general shape?" So if I was already ready, been like, if anyone was like, "No, you shouldn't wear the costume," I was like, "Is a black dude dressed up like a space alien, like from Japan?" Uh, the mask is the only part that I'm not sure about.
Yeah.
and that only specific because he steals the mask from a museum where the person is talking about how it's like a cultural artifact.
Yeah. I'll be honest. The mask is a tricky situation. My instinct is just to avoid it. Like, there's other costumes I can do. Like,
Right.
you know,
And I could do the rest of that costume without the mask, but I'd probably have to be like, this is what I am. Whereas I feel like if I wore the mask, everyone would be like, oh, I know what you are. Like
yeah,
that mask with that outfit, I know what you're portraying.
yeah. The mask does tie it together because otherwise it's a pretty basic, simple,
Yeah.
indescript outfit.
I look vaguely like a superhero guy.
Yeah. I run into the same problem with like some of the games that I'm designing. Like I'm been working on like a alternate history Haitian game, but I'm like, that's not my people, that's not my culture. I really don't want to be a white guy making the Haitian role playing game. Like, that feels doesn't feel right to me. But like I'm very interested in the subject matter. Like, you know, uh, I I strive to be respectful. The stuff that I've written about voodoo and like shared with other people, they're like, no, this is good. Like, this is nothing that's inappropriate. Like, I'm not trying to get some of the insights that are kept within the community. I'm just if it's been published in a major publication, if it's something that I feel like as an outsider I'm allowed to know about, I can kind of talk about it. But I still kind of dance this, like, I don't know, like, this doesn't quite, maybe this isn't appropriate. Regardless, like, if even if I go down this route, somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong and I shouldn't be doing it, and I have to be kind of prepared for that.
Yeah.
So like the other thing I'm working on is like a country western country music, like mythical America role playing game. And I'm like, I can totally get away with that because I am a very white guy, but that's also not my culture. Like, I am fucking northern Minnesotan. Like, I I did not grow up in a country music climate, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, I really didn't even come to enjoying country music until like my 20s. Like, it wasn't part of who I am, like, as a person. But I would bet nobody would ever challenge me on, like, oh, who are you to talk about the struggles of a magical country musician, you know?
Right.
Whereas, like,
I think that that cultural divide is as wide as a person living in modern Tokyo to a feudal samurai, right? Like in terms of that culture gap is like, I mean, sure they're Japanese, but like, fucking,
yeah,
they don't really. It's not like they have any. They understand the Japanese culture, but Japanese culture today is very different than it. I mean, than it was, even 200 years ago.
but if I only make games based on my culture and the culture that I know and understand, I suppose that nobody wants to play that. Like, I have to
Well,
either
also, you
lean
stop
fantasy
learning.
or lean sci-fi.
Yeah. Well, and also you stop learning about other cultures then.
Yeah. So, I mean, my one published role playing game is an Americana role playing game. So you know, it's within my feasible wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I struggle with this. Like, the last thing I want to do is be culturally insensitive to a group of people that I have a lot of respect and interest in. What do you do with that?
Approach the subject with an open mind and legitimately like, I think that's what you do.
Yeah. But it's like it's also hard because like there's this big movement, like especially in the role playing space, where it's like we want more voices of women and people of color, and I'm not. I'm just another white guy.
Sure.
Like, I don't think my work takes a chair from the table. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's also, and hang on, let me go ahead and head this off at the pass. The white guy is going to go talk for a second about how sometimes skin color doesn't matter. But I think that in a lot of cases, um, your, not specifically you, but like the general you, your experiences don't match up. Your cultural experience doesn't match up with what people expect it to a lot of times, right? Like, as you said, like, you're probably not going to get any crap from writing a cowboy game, even though fucking, you know, you grew up in the northern U.S. and Minnesota, not really, associated with country music or, redneck shit at all.
Yeah.
um, I grew up in Kentucky, uh, the suburbs, granted, but like a small town in Kentucky, and was quite like knew people that owned horse farms, and I rode a horse, but probably before I was 5 years old. Like, it wasn't a big deal for us to ride horses and stuff like that. Um, but even with that, I know more about what it's like to grow up in a Asian cultured household than I do a Southern white American household, because my stepfather and my stepbrothers growing up were Filipino. So from the time that I was probably 5 or 6, I was like, I was growing up in effectively a Asian household, which was funny. And this is something that you know of. Once I was called too white to write an Asian RPG, and I was like, okay, first of all, you fucking don't know anything about me. I grew up in an Asian household. Just because my skin is white does not mean that I have no exposure to this culture. In fact, I have way more exposure to this culture than a lot of Asian Americans do, I would imagine, specifically because of my upbringing. Like, when I say my stepfather was Filipino, I don't mean Filipino American. I mean legitimately born and raised in the Philippines, came to America, married my mom, etc. Like, very Filipino. So I think that there is a lot of a lot of focus that is on skin tone rather than experience, and sometimes that can work to your credit, and sometimes it doesn't.
So, two thoughts in response to that. First, um, despite you growing up in a geographic location that would make you more primed to write a role playing game about country music, I'm willing to bet I know more about the history of country music than you
Oh,
do. Which,
undoubtedly, that was part of my point. Is like, I grew up in Kentucky, blah blah blah, surrounded by that shit, and like fucking, I don't know anything about it.
and like I did not grow up surrounded by it, but it's a culture that I like and I'm interested in. So I've read a lot about it. I've listened to podcasts and I've watched movies and like I've really absorbed what that the nascent country music scene was like, right? Uh, and then the second thought I had is you talking about growing up in a Filipino household. It's and I'm sure we've talked about this before, but my wife is a fourth Korean, but did not grow up in a Korean household. She grew up
Right,
in northern Arkansas, like rural fucking Arkansas. She's not culturally Korean at all. But
right,
guess what? She could get a pass on that kind of interpretation of who's
right,
allowed to do what because she's a fourth Korean. What are you gonna say?
right. But yeah, just based on like where I was born, you would think that I would be more suited to write the cowboy RPG. I am not. That's my point. It's
Yeah.
like, definitely not. I'm way more suited to write the Filipino American RPG, and like, bloodline wise, I am 0% Filipino. Aside from being raised in it from the time I was 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that there's a lot of focus when I agree that it is important to look for diverse voices and voices that have stories to tell and are interested in telling stories that are outside of the typical, um, you know white American suburban viewpoint. But so many people that shout about this would be very surprised to learn about the perspectives that are available from what on the surface seems to be a white American guy from the suburbs.
Yeah.
I think that the quality of the voice in a certain extent, or like the experience and the perspective of the voice matters a lot more than the color of the skin or the bits of genitalia associated with the voice.
Well, there's also something to be said about like what I'm doing is 100% self-publishing. Like I'm not taking a job at a company that could have a different voice given to it. Like I'm just making my own place in the market. So me creating a role playing game of whatever doesn't deny somebody with a different voice from being able to do the same thing. Uh, I'm also not in a position where I can use somebody else's voice, right? Like I don't own a company, like I'm not hiring anybody. It's not like I'm like I have this idea for doing a historic Haitian role playing game. Let me go find some Haitians, hire them. Like I don't have that resource.
Right.
So there's that part of me that's like I don't see anybody else doing this. I'm interested in doing this. I might be the wrong person to do this, but is it completely wrong for me to do something outside of my culture that I don't see anybody else doing anything with anyway?
Yeah. If it's you or nobody, is nobody really the better choice?
Yeah. Just because that's not my culture.
Right.
I don't have an answer for this. Maybe the answer is yeah, it's better to not have another white guy reinterpreting our culture and putting out more information that's not accurate into the the ecosystem. Maybe
Yeah, but again, I think that that's where what I had said earlier of like approach it with an open mind and with the not with the desire to tell a specific story, but with the desire to find out the story that needs to be told or is interesting to tell.
yeah.
Um, and if that story from that side of the culture, if that culture doesn't want the story told, then maybe there's some merit in not telling it. But I don't think a third party is the. And to be clear, like the people that were saying I was too white to write an Asian RPG were white people. Like it was just other white folks saying, "Well, he's white. What does he know about you know growing up in an Asian culture?" It wasn't Asian people because typically culturally they don't give a shit. Like going back to the bee life thing in Japan. Can I wear a kimono? Yeah, sounds awesome. They don't care.
Yeah, but can I wear a kimono and yellow face?
I mean, probably not, right? But I don't need them to tell me that. I know that that's wrong. And again, like that goes to intent, right? Like, am I wearing a kimono to mock Japanese culture? Then it's probably not okay.
Yeah.
Am I wearing a kimono because I think Japanese culture is pretty cool and I want to experience a bit of it and show it off? I think that's probably fine.
I mean, conversely, like, I mean, again, a kimono is like a style of attire. It's similar to being like a t-shirt, right? But if is like a specific kimono that has religious or cultural significance, maybe that's not the kimono you should just be wearing as a bathrobe.
Sure. Right.
Just because I think the culture is interesting and I want to bring it in part of my life doesn't mean there's not still going to be things that are outside of the bounds
Right.
for that kind of indulgence. Like, the easier
Don't
one is
wipe
like,
your balls with the Shroud of Turin.
yeah,
Sure, it's just a cloth, but you know,
yeah, it's Native Americans easier. Like, don't wear ceremonial headdress. Like, that's I don't care if you think it's fashionable or cool. I don't think it. If you think it'll look great on your Instagram, it's not appropriate. You know.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the yarmulke. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it would be weird if you just wore that because you're like, I think the tiny hat is neat.
Yeah, that would be pretty weird. Because there's a whole association.
Yeah. So, I think it's interesting, but I'm pretty sure we've been talking about it for like 20 minutes, and the last thing people need is another 20 minutes of two white guys talking about cultural appropriation.
probably. It's something that I thought was very interesting watching a a firsthand of someone from another culture. And like I said, there was an African American black culture expert who was also asked like, "Is this racist?" And he was like, "No, not really. Like,
Yeah.
it's fine."
I mean,
I just thought it was very interesting that it was kind of broadcast as like this unacceptable cultural appropriation, and then like but both parties, kind of agreed that it's not, but that didn't stop the broadcast. I thought it was very interesting, and both parties were like, no, it's fine. And also, if you wanted to wear this white guy, that would also be fine. We would not care.
I didn't see it come through the feed, but we did have a comment on the Discord live. It might not be working right. I might have to go take a look at it. But Luke Meyer commented that no matter how sensitive you are and how much research you do, you will be criticized, probably heavily, because of RPG fans.
That's highly true.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too much into it, but Rob knows the history of my great enemy upon the internet. After Seventh Sea Second Ed, there was a dude that just decided he fucking hated me.
Yeah.
And like went everywhere talking about like using my name and saying like I said this, and like, no, I didn't
Well,
say
also hated you for
95%
shit
of
you
it.
had very little to do with.
Yeah,
Like,
he hated me for things that I didn't have anything to do with, then would attribute quotes to me that I did not say, and then like would use my first and like he always used my first and last name, like Michael Curry said this, and I'm like, I did not say that. Or he would say that I said something that was wildly out of context. I think that's I think the RPG industry is and RPG community is certainly more sensitive to a lot of that stuff than a lot of others. But I think that certainly comes with literally even the tiniest iota of recognition comes with criticism, and a lot of it, and most of it unwarranted, and I don't want to say unfair, but only because I don't. About it. And you're the one of the two of us that he's more likely to have some exposure with your dick.
I don't think Luke has any exposure with my dick.
No, I'm not saying that he has. I'm saying, percentages being what they are.
Yeah.
If I had to bet on the one of the two of us, whose penis Luke is talking about, it's probably yours.
I mean, maybe he's talking about a cultural penis.
Sure. The cultural dick of South Africa.
Yeah.
It could be true. Anyway, maybe we should stop talking about cultural appropriation, because I think we've exhausted our opinions on it at this point.
The funny thing that like I had like thought I had towards the end is like, really don't need more white guys talking about cultural appropriation, right? But we have a friend, Daryl, who's black, who knows less about black culture than we do. Bringing him on the show to talk about cultural appropriation, I don't feel like would be bringing any newer voice to the conversation. But it would be treated that way just because he is black.
Right. I mean, I think that he certainly knows more about the Black American experience than either of us likely do.
Sure, but talking about the cultural significance of a tribal African mask, he's not gonna like.
Oh yes,
but
African culture, yeah, he doesn't know anything about African culture.
But I guarantee
Black American culture, he might know something about that.
But I guarantee if he was on the show, his opinion would be weighted more heavily than ours,
Yeah.
irrelevantly.
Yeah.
Because we all equally have no fucking idea.
Yeah, exactly. We're all equally fucking clueless in that
Yeah.
regard.
Similar to like when you and my wife have talked before, it's like you, despite your appearance, have more authority over Asian culture than my wife does because you have at least had some personal exposure to it, whereas my wife has not.
Yeah.
But she's Korean, so
So she wins.
yep. That genetic lottery, my friend. All right, sir. Shall we move on?
Sure.
All right. We have a fantastic topic for everybody this week. In front of me, I have a list that is titled 250 Conversation Starters, but there are, in fact, 276 questions on this list. I'm going to go through.
Somebody can't count.
Yeah. I'm going to go through and start reading them. We're going to start answering them.
We're not going to go through the whole list, right?
All
Because
two.
like we already covered like the first several are really fucking boring.
All
Pretty
250.
basic okay, whatever. Should I stop you when we get to something interesting?
Listen, we'll lightning round through all the boring ones.
Okay.
But I'm going to start at the back of the list because I think the back of the list is more interesting than the front of the list. So,
Okay.
All right, Mike. A portal to another world opens in front of you. You don't know how long it will stay open or if you'll be able to get back after you go through. What do you do?
Nothing. I walk away from the portal.
Not even a little curious?
I mean, I might look through it, but are you asking if I like walk through? God no. Fuck no.
Think you could just like pop your head through? Just like whoop.
I don't know if I would even stick my head through. Like, I might like walk up to it. Like, I'm assuming that it's like a door or window that I can see what's on the other side. I might like walk up to it, and unless it looks immediately better than this, like if it's clearly like you would walk into a utopian society, like yeah, I might check it out. But like with that detail is missing from the question. If it's just like I know that it goes to another world, fuck no.
What could you see through that doorway that would entice you to walk through it? Don't be gross.
Shit.
Also, I like your shirt.
Oh, thanks. For audio listeners, it says "Stop pretending your racism is patriotism." I was gonna say like Jessica Alba in a bikini holding a placard with my name. Like that would convince me to walk through.
Like a placard that just says my name?
No, like it says, Michael Curry. That would convince me to walk through.
What if it said my name?
No. Although that's funny and weird, but no. Probably not. How about you?
I have a wife and kids. I can't risk strange street portals. Listen, 6 years ago, hell yeah. What have I got to lose? Sounds like an adventure. But now, oh no.
What would it take for you to see on the other side of that portal to make you walk through?
I would have to have my family with me, and we'd all have to be like, "Let's go!"
Like linking hands.
Yeah.
But is that the only requirement? Like, if they were with you and all decided to come with you,
well, like
you'd go?
If it was like a hellscape, no. Like if I look through it and I see like a Mad Maxian like guys in leather bondage gear and sawed-off shotguns chasing each other through the desert, I'll pass.
Okay.
But if it's like even if it's like a version of America where we don't have our current president, sure, let's do this.
Listen, let's not get political here, okay?
Why not?
Because we're gonna get SJW'd,
I don't.
and by which I mean we will get called SJWs and cucks.
Listen, I don't care.
Okay.
Similar to how when we were a role-playing podcast, I had no qualms with calling out the largest role-playing game and saying it sucked. I have my opinions, and it's that our current president's not a good one.
Okay.
So if I could walk through a portal and Bernie Sanders was president, sure. As long as I could take my family with me.
Okay. What if there was a version of your family on the other side that didn't have you?
No,
Like,
because
you would not leave your like if there was like a precise clone that like when the portal opened they were like, oh, thank God you're back. Like through the portal they're telling you this, and other Nicole was like 5 minutes ago a portal opened and you walked through it, and now this one opened and here you are.
no, because then I'd be leaving my other Nicole behind.
Oh,
I'd be like, why don't you come through the portal and I can have two
but
wives?
but then you'd have 6 kids.
Listen, they're my kids. Man, could you imagine two Ellas running around?
That would be chaos.
All right, next question. If you could call up anyone in the world and have a mandatory 1 hour conversation, who would you call and what would you discuss?
So I thought about this. They have to stay on the line with you, and I'm assuming that they have to participate in the conversation.
Yeah.
I would call perhaps who I think is the craziest person in America, Vincent McMahon. Because I think talking to that, like, just asking him, like, why? Why do you do things? What is your thought process? I think it would be utterly fascinating. Now, I think he's a terrible person. I think he's an out of touch, crazy old shithead. But that's what I think is really interesting. It's like I want to know the thought process that an out of touch, crazy millionaire has when he makes decisions that are seemingly the fucking craziest decisions in the world.
Interesting.
Who would you call?
I have a for similar reasons, I would call Jeff Bezos.
Just what do you do on a day-to-day
Like,
basis,
why-
Jeff Bezos?
Why do you need $30 billion? Like, why aren't you doing more to help humanity? Like, explain to me why you can't give away $10 billion and only have 20 billion left. Like, I know I'm not going to agree with you, but I want to know how you think that way.
What is the thought process that has led you to this belief?
Yeah. That it's okay for you to hoard wealth. And if his answer is anything short of I'm a dragon,
But what would you do then? Like if he's like, listen, in eons past, my people required these to sleep. We eat gold. I have to, or I'll die.
I'm not actually worth 30 billion. I've ingested 30 billion.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I've actually only got about 100 grand left. I'm struggling.
nobody with 100 grand is struggling.
After you've eaten 30 billion and you only have 100 grand left, you're probably real worried about where your next meal is coming from.
Literally.
Yeah, like that. I'm saying, like,
Your money meal.
if he literally eats money and he's eaten through $30 billion or however much, like, and he's down to 100 grand, he's probably like, oh shit.
Yeah. I got nothing. I don't. Next question.
So if he's literally a dragon that eats money, then it makes sense.
Yeah. Then all is right with the world.
And if he's very apologetic, he's like, listen, I'm sorry. I wish I could do more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to invest in the space program so that I can just be shot on a rocket to another planet and then I'll eat all the gold there and then like it'll be fine. But like, listen, man, you know, I'm gonna die.
Yeah. It would all make sense.
You should run a Shadowrun game where that's a dragon, a rich dragon. He's like this humanitarian dragon. He's like, I have to. I'll die.
Wouldn't it be more altruistic to die then?
Sure, but there's still the mortal urge to fight for your own survival. And that's why he's like, listen, if my plan works, then I don't die, and humanity is better off because I'll leave, so I will stop eating your wealth, and I won't die. Best case scenario. Boom. Jeff Bezos the Dragon. Bezanastrax. That's his name.
All right, I think I
Who
know.
adopted Jeff.
I think I know. We have the next adventure module we're gonna write.
Bezanastrax. The dragon. Trying to go to space.
To save humanity from
To
himself.
save humanity from himself.
All right, Mike. If you were a king, what would your throne look like?
This. Pretty much.
Just
this.
a chair.
Like, it would be, honestly, this is like probably one of my top 2 favorite chairs that I've ever owned. I really like it. It's really comfy. So, like, yeah, I would probably just have this like reupholstered with some really expensive shit, and that'd be it. Probably take the wheels off of it. You probably don't want a wheelie throne, right? But other than that, yeah, like, it would just be a leather chair.
Like, picture like just the king sitting there in like a wheelie chair,
Like, whoa.
and then like an earthquake hits, and the king just like slides around. So just a desk chair, huh?
Probably, yeah.
Interesting.
What about you? What would your throne be?
Dicks. You know,
Obviously.
you know what the Iron Throne looks like?
That, but with penises?
But instead it's like all realistic, lifelike dildos.
Okay.
Not actual dicks. That'd be weird.
Okay.
Mike, if you had a personal mascot, what would your mascot be? So there's like additional text under these questions to help kind of like
Okay.
and this one
Go on.
like, would it be an animal, something abstract, or an ethnic stereotype?
It wouldn't be an ethnic stereotype. I think it would be an animal. And my favorite animal has always been tigers. I really like tigers. So I'd probably be a tiger, like with glasses or something.
A tiger with glasses.
Yeah. And probably like he probably would wear like a t-shirt that says Mike Rules. So it'd be like a tiger wearing a t-shirt that says Mike Rules with glasses.
So it's the Michael Curry Tigers, like that's your mascot.
Yeah.
Yep. Have you seen Storybots? I doubt you've seen Storybots, but
I have not.
it's a kids show. But in one of the episodes, there's a very catchy song called "Tiger in the Jungle." You should look it up.
Oh, okay.
He's a big cat. Roar roar.
Okay.
It's good. It's catchy.
I believe you.
A nerdy tiger though.
Yep, a nerdy tiger with a t-shirt that says Mike Rules.
I
have a guess. I have a guess for yours.
Oh, okay.
Only because I found out what your favorite, or at least one of your favorite animals was not too long ago. I'm gonna guess a penguin.
I wouldn't want a penguin, honestly, but
No?
so I have 2 ideas, and neither were a penguin. Because the first thing I thought of was going the animal route, and then I was like, let's do something. Like I was like, animal feels too easy. What could I do other than an animal? And the first thing that popped into my head. So the animal that I thought of was a raccoon, because raccoons are my favorite animal. Penguins are a close second, but raccoons have a special place in my heart.
Raccoons are very cute.
And then, like, I don't know, like he'd have to be dressed up as something. Like a burglar is the first go-to, but that's too easy.
But then he can be the Rob Raccoons. He's a robber.
Yeah. So I was thinking like maybe like a D&D rogue.
Okay.
The rogue raccoons.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. But the non-animal idea I had, because let's do something a little more weird, would be a lighthouse. Because you know how much I love lighthouses.
I do know how much you love
And
lighthouses
I
for
think it'd
some
be
weird reason.
really funny to have like a guy in a giant foam lighthouse costume. Like, what do I do? I'm a lighthouse.
And then you could be like the Rob Justice beacons.
Yeah.
Not a bad pick.
The beacons of justice.
There you go.
Yeah. What flavor of ice cream do you wish existed? That's a dumb question.
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm pretty confident that every flavor of ice cream that should exist does.
I've been to Baskin Robbins.
Yeah, like I'm pretty confident that my answer is none.
When people make mistakes about food, do you feel the need to correct them?
Like
Uh,
what? I need further direction.
yeah. So some people like to know when they get something wrong, and some definitely don't. Are you one of the people, one of the people that gets annoyed when someone corrects you about your food, or do you appreciate being corrected? What do you correct people about
Yeah, I'm
food?
not sure what sort of correction about food is happening. NA needs more info.
Like the only thing I could think of is like, no, no, you need to eat that sushi with chopsticks. But you don't like. I don't. What do you correct people about food? Let's see. Do you like spicy food? Why or why not? What is the spiciest thing you've ever eaten?
Um, I like kind of a medium spice level. I don't like spice for the sake of spice, but like uh, the flavor of chilies and the flavor of peppers, I think is really good. If I could get that flavor with a lower spice, then I probably would prefer that. But there's some spicy food that I quite like. I'm a real big fan, as you know, of Indian food. I like Indian food quite a bit. And there's some pretty spicy Asian food that I'm also a pretty big fan of. Um, as for why, like I guess I like the flavor of peppers and chilies. I guess I said that.
Yeah, the why is kind of a hard thing. It's like I like the taste,
Yeah.
or I don't like the taste. So I don't like hot food. Um, there's a big trend for like Nashville hot chicken right now, and I don't like it. I like spicy. I like flavorful, but I don't like it when it starts to get into that hot range. So like when we go out for pad thai at work, I usually get like mild plus, just a little flavor, but not getting into like the crazy Thai pepper area.
Hmm.
Um, I've eaten some really spicy. Like my brother really likes spicy, and he thinks that hot means spicy. So I've had like really hot, like burny, like like ghost peppers and stuff like that. But it's I don't want to be uncomfortable when I eat.
Yeah.
If you were on death row, what would your last meal be?
Ooh. So basically, what's your favorite meal?
I mean, it's more than what's your favorite meal. Like, what do
If you
you
could have any meal.
like? What do you want the last thing you eat in life to be? Because like, there's a lot of food that I like. Like, I love tacos, but I'm not sure if I'd want to be like, tacos are what I want to end this world
Yeah.
with. You know?
Hmm. Wagyu steak.
I don't even know what that is.
Wagyu steak is the most expensive steak in the world. It's only produced in one region in Japan. It's very tightly controlled. It is hyper expensive. Like a portion of Wagyu is probably like $500, like a serving for one person.
Do you think it can possibly be that good?
I don't know. I've from people that have tried it. They say that like It's incredible. Like what makes it so expensive is it has a really high fat content and really high marbling of fat. So it's supposedly like really really sweet and really buttery and super tender. I've heard that it's amazing. Like it almost like melts when you bite it.
Hmm.
But I've always been curious about like, hey, it's apparently the best steak in the world.
Would you get any sides with it, or a drink, or just the steak?
Would probably just get a wagyu steak
How come? Why no accoutrements?
because something like that I feel like needs to be concentrated on. Like I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want the flavor of something else to like corrupt the experience is a very strong way to put it, but if I'm going to eat the best steak in the world, I want to focus on eating the best steak in the world, and I don't want any distractions.
Hmm. That's interesting. That's fair.
How about you?
I honestly, I don't know. It's a really tough question. Um, so I remember I've read articles on like death row inmates like last meals and everything, and like people have a lot of opinions. Like I forget it. There's a serial killer that got like a bucket of KFC fried chicken and like fresh strawberries, and like everybody's like, "What the fuck? Like, why would you get KFC for your last meal?" And it's like, man, like there is a certain appeal to me of getting just like my favorite shitty food, right? Like
Hmm.
I don't know if I necessarily do like KFC or whatever, but like as not as the entirety of a meal, but like having like Cheetos with my last meal. There is something appealing about like because it's comforting. It's
Right.
and I could eat them like Cookie Monster as we discussed on a previous episode. Uh but I think I'd want like a burger. Like some some very like gourmet like so I don't know what the most expensive burger in the world is. I'm not just carrying that knowledge around with me like you are with steak. Uh but like a really like a well-crafted burger I think could be a good meal to
Ask
kind of
Gordon Ramsay to come in and make you a burger.
yeah, something like that. And then like yeah, like I'd want like fries with it and uh like a tea, like just a simple kind of like almost like a greasy spoon diner kind of last meal. Something that feels familiar and comfortable and like cuz what I wouldn't want to do is like get this super expensive steak and like bite into it and be like that's fucking disappointing. Like Jesus
Fair
like
point.
my last meal is this thing that I've heard that I've built up, right? That's this thing that I've never had in life. This is what I want. And you bite into it and you're like, honestly, the steak at Logan's is better. Like I'd hate for that to be my last experience. So I'd want to go with something that like I feel is like tried and true that I could get comfort and enjoy for my final meal.
Fair play. I think it's interesting that we're such polar opposites on that.
I see the validity in your decision. It's not for me.
I honestly, I was debating between the wagyu steak or literally saying, my mom's Christmas dinner, like that she makes for Christmas every year, for that exact reason. Like, it's super familiar. I know I love it.
Yeah. All right. Where are we at with time? Oh, we're over time. We'll do one more and then we'll call it a night.
Okay.
If you could make a holiday, what would it be? What traditions would it have? And what would people eat on your holiday? The descriptive text on this one is garbage. Ready? This one is really fun, especially if the person you're talking to is creative.
No. Um, if I could make a holiday, so I feel like the biggest temptation there for everyone is going to be like my birthday, but I actually have very little interest in celebrating my birthday. Um, so I don't know. Like I'm not I'm not much of a holiday person, as you are quite aware.
Yeah.
I'm not like, yeah, I can't wait for whatever holiday to come up. Like I'm not a holiday guy really. About the only holiday that I make a point to do something for every year is Thanksgiving, and that's just because it's like, well, there's two. First is Thanksgiving, and the second is Christmas. Thanksgiving is because um, it's typically like after summer. It's like the first time that I see most of my family all at once again. And Christmas growing up was always a big deal in our family, and so part of me feels like a duty to keep that going for like the next generation of kids in my family. I want them to enjoy their childhood Christmases as much as I enjoyed mine.
Christmas is like really important to your mom too. So there's
Yes. Christmas is important to my mom because it was important to her mom.
and like that's you know you're close to your mom.
Yeah.
You're it's not like you have a strained relationship. So it's natural that you're like if this is the holiday that's super important to this person who's important to me, yeah, it makes sense that even if
Yeah.
you don't have a strong affinity for it, there is an importance in it to you.
Right. Um, every year for Christmas, my mom goes back to Kentucky, which is a 14-hour drive each way. I've probably bitched about it before on the show. And I only stopped going on that trip like in the past like 2 years. Before that, like literally every year, I went on this trip, and I hated it. Rob can attest to that. Like I fucking hated it.
Well, a big part
Because
of it was
it's
like it's a 14-hour drive out there. If I remember, you're there less than a day, and then it's a
yeah, less than
14-hour drive.
24 hours.
Yeah, then it's a 14-hour drive back. So you're like, I
It's a
have
fucking like 4 day grind.
I have a rule of thumb that if I'm not going to be at a place for at least twice as long as it takes me to get there and back, I don't go. Like, it takes me 6 hours round trip to get to Springfield. I would not come to Springfield for 4 hours.
Right.
But 12 hours? Yeah, probably. I might do that.
Yeah. So I've only stopped going on that trip the last couple years, but um they still do another Christmas at their house, which is about an hour and a half from me. And we usually do it around like New Year's time, so like my sense of like what Christmas is probably really different than most people's. But I think I've only missed that one once, and it was because literally there was a blizzard. Uh, and like I was still about to go, and my mom was like, "No, just stay home." I think they actually may have even rescheduled it. Like we're like, "Nah, we'll just do it, in a couple weeks or whatever." But as far as like a holiday that I would invent, I don't know. I really have no idea.
Well, that's lame.
I legitimately, I don't really like holidays all that much. I described literally the only two that I think it's important to celebrate for me, at least. So, like, what would a third holiday be that you invent? I don't know. It would probably be in the summer, just because the other two are in the winter. But like, I don't know. There's not really any period of time that doesn't have other holidays going on, right? So it's like I want a summer holiday. Well, we're in America. We have the Fourth of July, Memorial Day, and Labor Day. Like, why do you need another summer holiday? I have no idea.
Okay. I know what I would do.
Go ahead.
Uh, I would make it an American national holiday for election day. Traditions would be you go fucking vote. Uh, And what do you eat? Hot dogs and apple pie. I don't give a shit. But the important thing is like I think we need to be better at about allowing the general population to be able to contribute to our election of like system. For me, like I live an hour away from, or I work an hour away from where I live, so I can't just like go to the polls real quick on my lunch break. I mean, I have to figure out how to squeeze that into my schedule around my work time. And
Right.
it I work in Kansas and I live in Missouri, and each state has different laws about how much time a person is allowed off work, like, you know, whatever, like unpaid time off to go vote or whatever. But I think it should be like if I get Thanksgiving off for free and I still get my salary for that, I should get the day every 4 years, or not even. I guess I mean there is elections every year, right?
Yep.
So every year, like I should get a day off to go participate in my local government, and I think that should be the tradition that you make a ritual around going and
You have
voting.
election parties.
Yeah,
Show up and everybody's like barbecuing and
yeah. Like you go, you vote, and then you go get a hot dog and a slice of apple pie, and some kids like play baseball, and like it's an American fucking holiday. Everybody wears blue jeans. That's the traditional holiday dress.
blue jeans and Hawaiian shirts
Yeah, like what's the most
and a
American?
cowboy hat.
Yeah,
Blue jean, Hawaiian shirt, unbuttoned, of course, and a cowboy hat.
yeah,
Required to vote. You have to show up dressed like that. If you do not show up dressed like that, an appropriate outfit will be provided for
yeah.
you. But while voting, you must wear this. It's the traditional American ceremonial garb.
You can opt to only wear the jeans, but it has to be only the jeans because that is equally American.
I think the cowboy hat's also required. The shirt's optional. You can just wear jeans and a cowboy hat. That's fine.
But yeah, that'd be my holiday,
It's a hell of a holiday.
election day. Call it America Day or
Freedom Day. I think Freedom Day is better
Freedom Day.
because then you appeal to the Murica crowd.
Yeah, that's my holiday. That's the holiday that I want.
I think to accommodate your holiday, I think that actually what you actually want to do is you just want to change the 4th of July.
Yeah,
4th of July should be election day.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
That makes great sense, right? Like it's already a holiday set up. It's already freedom's birthday, right? Because there was no freedom before that. So, and we already get that day off. Just move election day to July 4th.
Yeah.
That's easy peasy.
The downside is your kids will be out of school, so you'll have to find a sitter or bring them along. But I think kids should be part of election day.
Well, who else? They got to go play baseball. It's Freedom Day.
Yeah, but not
So,
not the
like,
little
well,
ones.
They wake up. Well, there's like, I mean, then you just strap them in a red, white, and blue backpack across your back and take them to Freedom Day. But like the little ones, like they wake up and they have a slice of apple pie for breakfast, and then they go off to their ceremonial baseball game, and then you, as the parent, goes to the poll wearing your traditional American garb, ceremonial garb, the voting attire as it's called. If you do not have voting attire will be provided at your election place. Then you vote, and then as you are leaving, they hand you a hot dog.
And then there's a fixins table.
Well, and then after you vote and like pull the lever, it shoots off a firework.
Yeah. Yeah, they give you a hot dog. There's a whole fixins table because this is
Yeah.
America. You can prepare your hot dog any way you want.
It's true. It's Freedom Day. That's a
I
great holiday.
yeah. See,
See, your idea was great, and then we workshopped it. Boom, it's better.
yeah.
As we covered at the Halloween party. That's my superpower.
Now let's be honest. I'm a little disappointed that that's not a holiday. Like I'm a little sad that's not the world we live in.
Yeah.
I wonder
Would
if
you vote? Would you, if there was a politician that was their main platform? Would you vote for them?
if that's their
Like if
main.
they were like, listen, the other policies don't matter. My main objective is to change election day to the 4th of July, which is already a national holiday, and establish like not necessarily like those ridiculous traditions, but like the tradition of like you know you like that election day is changed to the 4th of July, which is already a national holiday, for the express purpose of this.
Listen, their other policies do matter because if they're like, I'm gonna do that, but also gays are outlawed, I'd be like, dude, dying on the wrong
Ooh,
hill.
you had me. You had me at Freedom Day. You should have just stopped talking.
All right, you want to go pee and then we'll do shoutouts?
You're right. I do have to pee. Can you see? Are you predicting, or can you see me doing the pee pee dance?
You know, like how they say like some people have like a sixth sense. I think I'm starting to develop a Mike Bladder sense.
Well, I always pee right before shoutouts, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back.
Okie dokie. Welcome back, sir. Have a good pee.
Thanks. It was an average pee, I guess. It
But
was unremarkable.
no stones.
No, I did not pee a rock.
You left one of those Fiji water bottles, like an unopened one, at the Airbnb, and thank you. That was life saving the next day when I was super hungover and dehydrated.
Oh,
Like I found it, I was like like perfect. Like I slammed it down.
glad I could help. Let me think for a second about a shout out. Yeah, I have a shout out. Are you ready?
Yes. I was yawning, but
You want to get your energy up a little bit?
no.
Yeah. Get up, do a couple jumping jacks, get the blood pumping.
No, this is the energy level that I want for my shout out.
Okay. Alrighty. So what, did you just start laughing thinking about your shout out?
No, I started laughing thinking about like what if I did like so I'm shouting out to something that one of our friends did, so I don't want to be super low energy about it, but I think it'd be really funny to do like a Stephen Wright-esque shout out to be like I'm shouting out to Dungeons and Dragons, and it's a good game. Thank you. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry. I interrupted.
I was just curious why you started randomly laughing. So you're all good. This is the shoutouts portion of the show. And Rob, so that he can take a nap after this while I talk, I'll let him go first.
So I'm gonna give a shout out to a role playing game, a tabletop role playing game that some friends of ours wrote, designed, developed, and recently published, called Party First. You can find it on Drive Through RPG. Head there, search for Party First. I'm sure you'll be able to track it down. It's a horror game set in an alternate 1980s, where the communist U.S. what is it, USRA has kind of taken over. They're like monsters are real and literal in this, and you are part of this universe. It's a like unless you read into the lore of the game, it's kind of hard to like explain or get into. But it's a horror themed communist role playing game. Uh, I wrote a couple pages of it, so you can find some stuff that I wrote in it. Um, it's pretty short. I actually somewhere around here I bought a physical version of it. Um, it's like 50 pages, so it's not like it's not a huge game. And it's friends of the show, so you should go support the people that we like.
I play tested it back in the day. It's not my cup of tea. Like it's horror, which we've covered before,
Yeah,
is not for me at all. But it was all right. With the understanding that like it's all right for me, which is to say, it wasn't. It's not my preferred genre
yeah.
or style, but like it was fine. I did not hate my time playing it. So if you're interested in horror, it's kind of like a Cthulhu-esque, Lovecraftian, otherworldly stuff. It's not like a slasher
Yeah.
thing. It's like cosmic horror, sort of a deal, like eldritch horrors, I guess is the right way to say it. Cool. Party First.
Yep. Mike?
Good pick. So my shout out is to someone far more famous than that. But why will become apparent in a moment. It is someone that Rob I know is familiar with, a man by the name of Phil Brooks. Listeners may know him better by uh, his working name, I suppose, which is CM Punk. He's a
I know that
professional
guy.
wrestler. Yeah, you've met that guy.
Well, I guess more aptly I knew that guy.
Yeah, you had met that guy a while back.
Well, it's not just that I met him. Like I've had dinner with him. Like I've spent time with him as Phil Brooks before
That's
like
cool.
he got famous. I doubt he remembers my ass, but
Right.
I'll never forget.
But yeah, so my shout out is to CM Punk, who recently returned to wrestling, sort of. He, without going too much into detail, WWE is now partnered pretty heavily with Fox. And so Fox has a kind of like almost like a post game show called Backstage. And this week, they revealed that Punk is one of their commentators. So he's not returning to in-ring performance, at least not yet. But of course, as soon as he's involved in wrestling in any way, immediate fan speculation is, oh, it's only a matter of time until he gets back in the ring. But there's been no indication of that. But he is like professionally for Fox. Like his contract is with Fox, not with WWE. But like commenting on and like a personality for WWE programming on Fox, which I think is really interesting given the nature of him leaving the company the first time, I'm really curious. I would be curious. I have no doubt that I will not get the answer to this, but I would be curious to know like how much of what he says is like mandated to him, like, you know, like is he allowed to criticize them? I would assume probably not. Like, I mean, it's not too much, right? Like he can criticize particular performers or say like a thing like particular match wasn't as great as it could have been, or critique it that way, but like it makes me curious, like what sort of restraints did they put on him, mostly because he is famously a person who bucks under any kind of direction like that, which was like the whole reason why he originally left the company. Is so I don't watch wrestling actively anymore on a week to week basis. I don't have a television, and I don't say that in the way that people who don't have television say that. I watch all my stuff online, like on the internet, on YouTube and stuff. So like I keep up with wrestling off of like recap shows and things like that. That will go into like really step by step detail about like what's going on. So I know who all the champions are and kind of what the angles are and what storylines are going on. But I'm very interested to see what he does, and I'm curious to know how much freedom he is given to actually speak. So that's my shout out, CM Punk.
Okay.
You couldn't be less interested, could you?
Listen,
I guess you could be less interested.
I don't
There
really.
are there are things that would interest you less than this.
Yeah. But speculating about CM Punk's return to wrestling, man, like I haven't watched wrestling in like 6 years.
Right.
Like, not really part of my life anymore. Turns out it got real bad.
It's pretty good right now.
Well.
But you've been hurt before, and I understand that.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out, listening to the Bear Swarm podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on what's the whole Instagram?
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe down below and ring the notification bell. You got to do that. And then you definitely have to like, comment. Yeah, you have to like, comment, and subscribe. Visit us on Patreon.
Yeah, visit us on Patreon. That one's legitimate. Please do that. You don't have to like, comment, and subscribe. Just go to Patreon, please. And we'll be back either next week or the week after. I've noticed that we haven't gone 3 weeks. Like we haven't missed 2 episodes in a row. But we have kind of started consistently missing every other week. The goal is still to do this every week, but life.
Right.
So the plan is to do another one next week. If not, I will see you the week after that.
Double thumbs.
Nobody can see that. Sorry. Hang on. 2 people can see that.
Double thumbs.
You're dumb.
That's a rude thing to say to your best friend that you love more than anything else in the world.
Listen, I can
not anything else in the world.
I can love somebody and still think they're dumb.
I'd say top 10.